I'm at your service, Sir Knight.
I'd like you to show me some hunting tricks.
Certainly.
I'd like to practice the basics.
All right, but it'll cost you. Now, pay close attention.
Can you teach me to be a better archer?
Certainly.
I'd like to practice the basics.
All right, but it'll cost you. Now, pay close attention.
Can you teach me to be a better archer?
Certainly.
I'm interested in more advanced techniques.
All right, but it'll cost you. Now, pay close attention.
Master Huntsman, is there any work for me here?
There's always something that needs doing. You're that Scarlet's lad, aren't you? Sir Radzig's lackey.
That'll be me.
Right. I saw you here shortly after the attack. My word, to get away from Talmberg like that, quite remarkable. It's clear you're not easily scared. So I do have a job for you.
I'm listening.
We've been having terrible problems with poachers lately. In Sir Divish's forests, we've been finding gutted entrails of deer and rabbit nooses all over the place. But no sign of the bastards who put them there.
And you want me to track down the poachers?
Indeed. Whatever you learn will be useful to me.
Do you suspect anyone?
Well, it's hard to say, but seeing how much harm they're causing, I'd say they're no crofters looking for a Sunday roast.
I'll try to find out something about them. Any advice about where to start?
Certainly. Ask around the village. Somebody must have seen or heard something. And it wouldn't hurt to ask in the inn in the glade, the one on the road towards Neuhof. I've heard they serve good venison, and no shortage of it.
That's clear enough. As soon as I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Thanks for your help, lad.
bet you only cut the tree down last autumn. You can't have rotted down enough yet.
No, but I cut off the top roots at the time.
So you did half the job at least.
If only. It took me 2 bloody days to dig it out. I had to dig a trench all around it.
What do you think about all the poaching lately?
What should I be thinking? If they ever catch them, Sir Divish will have them skinned alive. But for that to happen, our master huntsman would have to be made of sterner stuff.
Do you think Nicholas isn't doing enough?
A master huntsman who lets poachers run wild through his woods? He's useless. He couldn't even stop them hanging a stag's head on his own house.
Right. Thank you, innkeeper. I'll be going. I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
If you ask me, there's some questions best left unanswered. But go and see Elena if you're determined. That old gossip will tell you all there is to know.
I hope I can be of help to you, Knight.
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
I don't know anything about that. But if it's gossip you're after, go and speak to Brada the tanner. He always spins a good yarn. You'll find him at the end of the village, the last house on the way to the quarry.
I heard you've got a poaching problem in the woods around here.
In the woods and out of them. Not long back the bastards hung a deer's head on the huntsman's house.
That's pretty brazen of them.
Certainly is. Word around the village is that someone wants to shame him till he squirms.
Putting a deer's head on the huntsman's house sounds pretty risky. Why would anyone do that?
Maybe they want to show that Huntsman Nicholas is no match for them. And they're not wrong. He isn't the man he should be.
Do you think it was someone local?
I really don't know. All sorts of things get said. Hannikin Hare's back, if you listen to some, and others are going on about Tom of the Baths. They swear blind he's got his fingers in it.
And what about you?
It could be anyone. There's more than one that has it in for Nicholas. And who knows what the neighbors get up to by night.
What's so suspicious about this Thomas?
Just that he was drunk and blabbering about how he was going to bring back venison from the woods.
Tell me something about Hannikin Hare.
He used to be Master Huntsman here a while back. But then Nicholas got him accused of a murder, and the Hare had to flee. It cost him the huntsman's rank and Margaret, too.
What happened between Hare and Nicholas, anyway?
Those two didn't get on from the start. And then that business with Margaret really set them at each other's throats. But it all came to a head about 15 years back when Sir Henry of Lipa came to visit.
Sir Hanish's father?
Just so. There was a banquet at the castle in his honor, and in the morning they found one of Sir Henry's men-at-arms in the ditch with his neck broken. Well, Nicholas made sure the blame fell on Hannikin Hare.
So how did Nicholas put the blame on Hare?
Nicholas always had a viper's tongue, and events made it easy for him. That evening there'd been a right falling out between Hare and the guardsman. Blows were struck. Well, Sir Divish didn't want any ill will with Sir Henry, so he tried to settle things as quick as he could, and Hare got the short straw.
What was going on with Margaret?
Her father promised her to Hanneken, because they seemed a good match. But Nicholas couldn't stomach that, so he did what he did.
I want to ask about something else. So why do people think Tom of the Baths is involved?
Ah, that's just nonsense. He was bragging in the tavern that he'd put on a venison feast for the village girls. Deer for the deers.
Did he?
I doubt it. He's all mouth and no trousers. But if you want to know more, ask my husband, the innkeeper. I wasn't here that evening.
That'll be all. Thanks.
God bless.
What do you think about all the poaching lately?
What should I be thinking? If they ever catch them, Sir Divish will have them skinned alive. But for that to happen, our master huntsman would have to be made of sterner stuff.
Folk were talking about Hanneken Hare.
Oh, good Lord. People do like to prattle on. Don't you go believing a word they say. It's the back of beyond here, and they'll tell any tale to spice things up a bit.
Thank you, innkeeper. I'll be going. I've heard Tom of the Baths was mouthing off in here.
So he did. He and Jack Piper were bragging about how they'd make a feast for the village lasses, that there'd be venison roast and enough beer to fill a river. And a few days later, they did come and buy a few kegs of beer from me.
Did they have anything else to say?
Not really. I told him to shut up, or someone would hear him and there'd be trouble.
And what did he say to that?
Nothing. He had more booze in him than the castle cellar. He just hiccuped and slid under the table. Piper took him off after that, thank God.
Do you suppose he meant it?
Hardly. He's nothing but a braggart.
All right, I'd best ask him myself.
Feel free to ask, but don't believe half what he says.
And who is this Jake Piper?
Oh, he's Tom's best mate. A decent fellow. They call him the Piper because everywhere he goes, he's whistling on that pipe of his.
Where can I find him?
Well, most likely in the quarry. He lends a hand there to make ends meet.
Thank you, innkeeper. I'll be going. Can I sleep here?
Well, I suppose I could find something. For how long?
Just the one night?
All right. Money up front, though.
Here you are.
You like it here? Like sleeping on a cloud it is.
Where do I go to sleep?
In the loft. There's a door next to the chicken coop. Inside, there's a ladder up to the loft. You'll find it all set up for sleeping.
Hey, watch it! Lout.
bloody fog.
What was that noise? What? Mother of God! Hey, who's there? I must have imagined it. Are you looking for me?
I heard there are poachers in the woods round here.
If only if it was just poachers. It's that sorcerer Hare. He's the one who's been running amok. I said he'd be back, and I said he'd be vengeful, and I was right both times.
Tell me something about Hannikin Hare.
Ah, that was all years ago. He turned up here one day, no one rightly knew where from. He claimed up at the castle to be a nobleman's son, and so he got the office of Master Huntsman, and Margaret was promised him for his wife. Nobody could have known he was a sorcerer.
And how did his sorcery reveal itself?
Well, he was able to vanish into thin air in the forest right in front of folk. And I've heard it said he spoke to animals, too, though I don't know the truth of it.
That doesn't sound very convincing to me.
That's because you've not seen his marksmanship. It wasn't natural, the things he could do with that bow of his. They say he sold his soul for the gift of it.
I see. How did it go with Margaret?
I'm not one to gossip, but she was a flighty lass in her younger years. She could never make up her mind which one she wanted, the Hare or Nicholas. So in the end, fate decided for her.
What do you mean? What happened with Hare?
Oh, that was quite something. And then some on top of it. Sir Henry of Lipo was visiting here at the castle, and Hare snapped his guardsman's neck with his bare hands. Of course, they found him out. But how do you keep a sorcerer under lock and key? You can't. That's your answer. And that Satan's spawn slipped the net.
Oh, well, it's quite a wild story. Any idea why he murdered the man?
No one knows, and most likely never will. But they say he was fully in the devil's power. There was a full moon, you see.
Was he actually seen killing the guardsman?
I suppose so. Else they'd hardly know who did it, would they?
That's probably true. There is one other thing I want to ask. Has anyone actually seen this Hannikin Hare? He seems to exist only as a bogeyman to frighten naughty children.
Oh, he exists all right, but he flits around in the forest like a shadow. They won't be catching him any time soon, but Blacksmith's Betty heard some of their goings-on in the woods.
Goings-on? What's that supposed to mean?
Cavorting and raising hell. Sorcery! Hare meets up with his sorcerer's apprentices, and they feast in the clearing in the woods. In the morning, they turn into ravens and scatter. Or so she says. But you'll have to ask Betty for more. Who knows what she saw? Or what she was doing there with them?
Very well. I'll ask. Who does Hare want revenge on?
Master Huntsman Nicholas, of course. When the Hare disappeared, Nicholas took his Margaret and the huntsman's posting.
So Nicholas came out of it well?
That one always knew how to land on his feet.
Tell me something about Hannikin Hare.
Ah, that was all years ago. He turned up here one day, no one rightly knew where from. He claimed up at the castle to be a nobleman's son, and so he got the office of Master Huntsman, and Margaret was promised him for his wife. Nobody could have known he was a sorcerer.
Well, I should be going. Thanks for the chat.
Not at all. I always like a good chin wag. God bless.
Always in the evening, while there's still a bit of light, she sits down and gets on with it. And she's quite deft at it by now.
I'm not surprised. Betty was always good with her hands.
You're right there. Anyway, I showed a couple of pieces she made last time to old Thunder from Tabor, the one I buy goods from. And he said right away he'll take them. And how much do I want for them?
Well, now.
I was surprised myself, but I wasn't sure Betty would even want to sell them. So I asked for a high price. And he says that's fine, and started counting out the coin there and then.
Just like that? What I heard about him, he's right skinflint. And what did Betty have to say?
What? She was well pleased, as you can imagine. Even more when I told her Tonda will take everything she makes.
That's great. A bit of extra coin never hurts.
I'm honored that a knight such as you takes an interest in me.
I need to ask you something about the poachers.
What? Me? Why me, for Christ's sake?
They say you were mouthing off in the tavern.
We'd all had a few ales. You know what it's like. The tales get taller.
So you didn't go poaching with Thomas?
My God, no. That would never even cross our minds. What? Thomas is a bit
serious?
wild, but I have some sense, at least.
What the hell?
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
If you ask me, there's some questions best left unanswered. But go and see Olener if you're determined. That old gossip will tell you all there is to know.
Why are you here? Bugger off. What have we here? Hey, is someone there? I must have imagined it.
I've got a few questions about these poachers.
So ask.
I heard you saw something fishy in the forest.
That's right, I did.
Can you describe what you saw?
It was after dark, I remember that. I went up past the castle along by the clearing, and I saw someone had lit a fire, and there were figures singing and dancing, and I could hear the whistling of a pipe. And I could smell roast meat. It was like a feast of some sort. Only I thought maybe it was some witch's sabbath, so I was afraid to stay too long in case they saw me.
Did you recognize anyone there? Someone from the village, maybe?
No. Like I said, it was dark. All I could see was shadowy figures moving around.
Did you hear any familiar voices?
No. But I heard girls' laughter, goblets clinking, a piper playing. It sounded just like any feast.
Where is the clearing?
A short walk north of the castle. There's a track past the woodcutter's camp that takes you there.
Thanks. What do you make of this poaching that's been going on?
It's clear as day. Hannikin Hare's back. And putting those antlers on Nicholas's house? Well, we all know what that means, don't we? It's the sign of a cuckold, you mark my words.
You mean to say his wife's cheating on him?
All I'm saying is she might be feeling the urge. It happens in the best of families.
Well, you're the first who's certain of Hare's return. So far, I've just heard vague rumours.
Well, now, I wouldn't say I'm completely sure. I suppose some other mischief maker could have done it, but better the devil you know. And everyone hereabouts knows Hare.
You were singing a different song not long ago.
So? Why do you want to know so much, anyway?
It's nothing to you, but I'm helping Nicholas unmask that local poaching gang.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, now you know. And you also know not to keep anything from me. So, what's the story with that Hare?
I don't know what you're up to, but I'll have nothing to do with it. Nobody likes a sniffing snout, and I don't want to be taken for a gossip.
That's fine. I'm sorry. My apologies.
All right, I understand. Curiosity always gets the better of me.
Who's this Hannikin Hare, anyway?
Hannikin Hare? There was a time he was master huntsman here, and Margaret was set to be his wife. But then he got himself accused of murder, and fled before they could hang him. Margaret and his job both ended up going to Nicholas.
So what's the story between Hare and Margaret?
It was complicated. He wanted her and she wanted him too, I reckon. At least for a while. But then she hitched up with Nicholas, and now she says she never had a thought of wedding Hannikin Hare.
So what went on between Hare and the huntsman?
Those two? There was no love lost between them from the moment Hare arrived. And then Margaret got involved. It was a messy business.
Do you think Hare really killed that man?
Who knows the truth of it now? I did find it all a bit odd. Hare never was much of a hothead. But then again, no one really knew him that well. And Margaret never wanted to speak of it. Wouldn't hear a word about it.
That's all I need. Thanks.
God bless.
Good day to you. What do you need?
I'm here to find out about the poachers gang, and I need to ask a few questions.
Well, ask away. I don't have all day.
I heard you were yelling in the tavern that you were off to hunt some venison.
Look here. I don't know who you are, but you should watch your mouth.
I will, don't you worry. So what happened then?
What? Nothing. It was just the beer talking. I got pissed and started spouting shit. Didn't mean a word of it.
Maybe not. That remains to be seen. Blacksmith Betty saw people feasting in the woods, and she says there was a nice smell of venison. What do you know about it?
Nothing. I wasn't there.
And I don't suppose you'll tell me who was?
No, because I wasn't there.
That'll do me. I hear there's been trouble with poachers recently.
I don't have time to talk to strangers. Good day to you.
I hope I can be of help to you, Knight.
I heard you have poacher trouble.
Certainly do. They're running wild around here, and they kill a lot more than they take. Many a time I've seen a carcass just thrown in a ditch.
Why would someone just toss their catch in the woods? It doesn't make sense.
The wagging tongues say they're just doing it to spite the huntsman.
Do you have any idea who the poachers could be?
If I knew, the bastards would be strung up by now.
Don't tell me you've heard nothing at all.
Well, I did hear that Thomas, that fellow who works at the bathhouse, was mouthing off recently, saying he'd go and bag himself some game and lay on a right feast for the village girls.
I see. Has anyone seen those poachers with their own eyes?
No, just the dead game they leave behind. But Blacksmith Betty saw some goings-on in the woods.
Goings-on? What's that supposed to mean?
Well, that's what she said, and I ain't one to pry.
Why would anyone want to take revenge on the huntsman?
He's not the best-liked man in the village. We all know that. And then there are those who say Hare is back.
Who's Hannekin Hare?
You're not from around here, are you? The Hare's quite the Talmberg legend. He used to be Master Huntsman here once, but then he ran off.
And why did he run?
Well, it just so happens I know the answer to that. Some big important nobleman came to Talmberg around then, and they made a grand occasion of it. And in the midst of it all, Hare had a falling out with some man-at-arms and knocked him in the moat. The poor bugger broke his neck. They picked the Hare up, but before they could take him before the court, he vanished.
Why take revenge on Master Huntsman Nicholas?
Because of Nicholas's wife, Margaret. Hare had his eye on her back then, but she didn't care for him, and he was fuming. Well, and after he disappeared, Nicholas got his post.
Where did he run to?
No one really knows. They say he's hiding in secret tunnels beneath the castle, but that's all fairy tales. It's been years. As I see it, he's underground all right, 6 feet down and cold.
I want to ask about something else. Thanks. That's all I need to know. Have you got any work that needs doing?
Not much. Unless you're not averse to a bit of risk.
How do you mean?
As you can see, I tan hides. I can only buy them from the Master Huntsman, and he never gives me enough. I'd hunt them down myself, only he keeps a close watch on me. But you now...
Well, I don't think the Master Huntsman would be any happier about me hunting on his preserve.
He wouldn't, if he caught you at it. Look here, I'll pay a good price for whatever you bring me. And sometimes I have to fill an order and I need something in particular, in which case I would pay you extra. And if you help me out a few times, I might be able to teach you something useful.
Couldn't you use some hides?
I'm in need of boar hides, believe it or not. They don't make very good leather, but the cobbler uses it to make cheap shoes. And there's a lot of demand before autumn.
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
If you ask me, there's some questions best left unanswered. But go and see Elena if you're determined. That old gossip will tell you all there is to know.
I'd like to ask you about Hannekin Hare.
I'm sorry, but I really don't want to talk about that.
The thing is, every time I spoke to someone about Hare, they always ended up talking about you.
But I don't.
You aren't to blame for anything, is that it? Well, I am willing to believe you, but you do know more than you're telling, and I need to hear it.
I'm not saying a word, you rat. It's none of your bloody business.
Just calm down. That'll do me.
Better never to lend money to Ken. It's always a nuisance.
That's just what I said to him.
Oh? How'd he take that?
He took it, well, like a man.